Hallo Deutschlerner! Konjunktiv 2 can be incredibly difficult to fully grasp. That's why I spent the last few videos explaining what it is and why you need to know it, plus the various ways that you can form it, using werden to form the present or future tenses, using haben and sein, and how to use modal verbs, and pretty much everything else. There is one more category of things that you need to be able to grasp with regards to the Konjunktiv 2, however. In this lesson, I will teach you a very short list of verbs that will have their own unique Konjunktiv 2 forms. While it is true that technically almost all verbs have a Konjunktiv 2 form, not all of them are used. This happens for a long list of reasons, but the main ones include it's easier to just use würde plus an infinitive, or the Konjunktiv 2 form of the verb is the same or very similar to another form of the same verb, which means that it may lead to some confusion. You have already been introduced to two of the verbs that have their own unique versions for Konjunktiv 2, haben and sein. They become hätte and wäre respectively. You also know the verb werden, which becomes würde. Of course, you still have to conjugate the verbs after that. In addition to these verbs, which I covered in previous lessons in this series, there is also the verb geben. In the Präteritum form of the verb, it becomes gab. Following the rules that we used for haben, sein, and werden, we can find that the Konjunktiv 2 version is gäbe. Then we just have to conjugate for all of the other forms. Here it is all together. Ich gäbe. Du gäbest. Sie, es gäbe. Wir gäben. Ihr gäbet. Sie gäben. While it is possible to use this verb in the sense of actually giving someone something, it's more likely that you'll use es gäbe to say there would be, as in the Konjunktiv 2 version of there is. Es gäbe noch Dinosaurier, wenn es diesen Meteorit nicht gegeben hätte. There would still be dinosaurs if there weren't this meteorite. Es gäbe mehr Kuchen, wenn du Herrn Antrim nicht eingeladen hättest. There would be more cake if you hadn't invited Herr Antrim. If you want to say something like I would give, I recommend using the würde construction instead. Ich würde Herrn Antrim einen Daumen hoch geben. I would give Herr Antrim a thumbs up. The verb wissen is also quite common. Following the same pattern that we used before, we start with wissen, go to wüsste in the simple past, and finally wüsste. The full conjugation is as follows. Ich wüsste. Du wüsstest. Sie, es wüsste. Wir wüssten. Ihr wüsstet. Sie wüssten. Example sentences. Wenn ich nur wüsste, dass du solche Probleme hast, würde ich dir helfen. If I only knew that you had problems like that, I would help you. Wenn ich ein Fisch wäre, wüsste ich, wie man unter Wasser singt. If I were a fish, I would know how to sing underwater. All of the irregular verbs in German are going to follow this kind of pattern. Start with the Präteritum form of the verb and add an umlaut if you can, and add an I. Kommen, kam, käme. Gehen, ging, ginge. Sehen, sah, sähe. Finden, fand, fände. Nehmen, nahm, nähme. Sprechen, sprach, spräche. Essen, aß, äße. Trinken, trank, tränke. Schlafen, schlief, schliefe. Just for good measure, here are a few more examples that I stole from the song Hey Girl by Crow. Wärst du Langeweile, stände ich gerne mal im Stau. If you were boredom, I would gladly stay in a traffic jam. This example uses the verb stehen, which changes to stand in the Präteritum, and stände in the Konjunktiv 2. Und wärst du ein Verbrechen, säße ich längst schon im Bau. And if you were a crime, I would sit in jail for a long time. This example uses the verb sitzen, which becomes saß in the Präteritum and säße in the Konjunktiv 2. Wärst du ne Dauerwelle, fände ich die 80s nice. If you were a perm, I would find the 80s nice. This example uses the verb finden, which becomes fand in the Präteritum, and fände in the Konjunktiv 2. If you didn't know this already, pretty much that entire song is written in the Konjunktiv 2. Not all of the examples that he gives are school appropriate, but he does use a lot of wäre, hätte, and würde along with the examples that I just gave. Definitely worth a listen after you finish this lesson. Now that you're a master of all things Konjunktiv 2, it's time to get your listening comprehension on. Click over here to check out my listening comprehension lessons all around the Konjunktiv 2. I'll see you over there. Tschüss!